Well, thank you very much, all of you, for being here. This is really great. I'm Liz Millman from a group called Learning Links International. My colleague Simon Faringo is with me, and we've also got a range of colleagues who we're going to introduce in a moment. But I'm actually welcoming you from Australia. I've been here for quite a number of years now, since before COVID. I came for a holiday and I kind of got stuck. So we're going to introduce ourselves in a moment, but I'm just going to go through the formal um, uh, part of the session, which is to get us started and to help us to uh, pay our respects. Okay, so this is this session. We've got to the end of May now. Last week we were talking about Windrush as well. I can tell you a bit more about that. We had Rudy Page join us last week, and he was talking about the work he's doing over in Jamaica about the recognition. And we'll also be talking to Dr. Vivian Crawford about the activities being planned for next year, when there's going to be a special recognition on the waterfront. So yeah, I knew Betty Campbell, and so it was a real it was really good that my Welsh colleagues worked so hard to get this really beautiful statue of her, and she's been so well recognised. Managed to spell her name wrong here, but never mind. Okay, welcome to Black History Conversations, Season 12. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which I live at present, here in Australia. These are the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. And at the moment, it's National Reconciliation Week, from the 27th of May to the 3rd of June. And now more than ever do we need this, because we had the traumatic experience last year of running a referendum to have the first Australians, the Aboriginal people, recognised in the Australian Constitution, and unbelievably it was turned down. So there's a lot of work, healing work needed here at the moment, but work is going on ahead. But it was a really great shock. So this is interesting, just to show where we're at. We're telling our Black history here in Australia, our shared history with the people who had lived here for so many thousands of years. And this is a particularly interesting. There's recognition now, more recognition now, of the colonial violence that happened. And I'm living in Victoria. So at the Aboriginal Cultural Centre, there's a series of things, and there's all sorts of things that you can find out about. This one's through museumsvictoria.com, about stories of the atrocities, as well as the achievements and the joys. But we decided that, as we are Black History Conversations, that we should say something about what we acknowledge. So we acknowledge the injustice of the actions taken by the British and other European countries that invaded and took possession of the islands in the Caribbean Sea, as well as the continents of North and South America. In addition, we also recognise the exploitation of the great continents of Africa, Asia, Australia, and many other parts of the world in the centuries of colonialisation and ongoing exploitation. We acknowledge that this has resulted in the destruction and destabilisation of so many nations, peoples, and cultures. And we're very grateful to Jackie Pennant, who lives in Florida in the States. She joins us every now and again. And she felt that it was important that we had this recognition, and we totally agreed with her. And we're also, during our series, recognising what's going on with the International Decade of People of African Descent. So we're very much about looking at the wider Black history. Now, I'm not going to start with that one, because that's going to be telling us more about how the departure of Windrush was recognised a couple of weeks back. So I want to really, though, celebrate that we've got some wonderful folks here who are or have been teachers And Rose, would you like to introduce people, and then we can move our way through hearing some of your stories? So this session of Black History Conversations is about celebrating teachers from the Caribbean, and I suspect specifically with Jamaican heritage. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Liz. Well, I'm a Jamaican heritage person. I came to this country when I was 10 and had the rest of my education here right through, and I've been working in the education system for forever, it seems, both as a teacher, head teacher, inspector and chief officer. But this is not about me, although I'd like to obviously share some of my experiences in our conversation. But I wonder if we could, I know we have not just Jamaican heritage teachers here, but we have teachers from other Caribbean backgrounds here as well. But I'd like to introduce Barbara Ellis, who I met and have enjoyed working with, actually, not as a teacher in school, but actually we've done a workshop together and shared other stories. And she's a writer as well as a teacher, an educator, doing all sorts of fascinating things. But she can talk more about herself. And I've had a really lovely conversation with Juliana, who can say more about herself, because she's a Bayesian heritage person. She can speak about herself. And then Juliet over on your screen, who's in the Dordogne in France, and who's my sister-in-law. I hope she can get a chance to tell a little bit about her teaching background. And I also had a lovely chat to Yvonne, who will say much more about her experiences both in Jamaica and here as well. So I don't know whether, Liz, if that's okay, maybe Barbara
Yeah,
can tell us a little bit about herself
that
before
would be delightful, Barbara.
we press on.
Yeah, I was a te like Rose. I came here when I was very young. Yeah, and I was educated here, and I became a teacher. But I've also worked abroad. So I worked in Africa, so I have an African connection. And a strong Jamaican connection too, because I've always done work in Jamaica on in an informal basis with Jamaicans who were interested in all kinds of things, especially Africa. And I recently came back from Jamaica and I did a workshop for the Afro-Caribbean Institute on beginning at the beginning. And it is about going beyond slavery and colonization and going right back to the very beginning in terms of Africa being the source of humanity. And I was recently watching a program by somebody from Oxford, and he actually said that that was undisputed fact. So my work at the moment is to go beyond slavery and colonization to the origins as our shared history in Africa, shared history because everybody came from Africa. And so I want to develop that theme a as a equality issue that if we want to achieve equality anywhere, we need to start from that and see how from being the source of humanity, how that has changed, and that fits into your program about the problems in the issues in America, here, Africa, Australia. It all that just summarizes for me the whole thing. If we all start at that point, where do we go from there? Thank you.
Oh, that's fantastic, Barbara. I'm sure that Vivian wants to come in if you were working at the African Caribbean Institute in Jamaica, because Vivian retired relatively recently as executive director there. So,
Okay, okay.
Yes, I'm Vivian Crawford of No Fixed Address. And continue to be grateful for this meeting. I call it the Liz Milburn Institute, and I just look forward to the discussion because sadly, our story in Jamaica was not on the agenda. And I'm guided by Sir Philip Sherlock, whose books your grandparents would have read, Mr. Joe, Mr. Dan, Miss Tibbs. And when he was a student at high school, Calabar, on Sly Pen Road, he asked his teacher, an Englishman, to be exposed to some Jamaican West Indian history. And the teacher replied, "Boy, you have no history." Of course, the rest is because he devoted his entire life for the continuity of our heritage. So I started life, elementary school teacher, the Michael, and I hasten to share what I have said on this program before, that it came into existence in 1836 because an Englishman, Reverend John True from Mandeville Parish Church, wrote letters in 1835 appealing to England for help for 311,000 enslaved soon to be free, and there would be no education. And one of the letters caught the attention of Sir Thomas Fowell Buxton, who invited him to become the first director of the MICO, started at Hanover Street. And when a university in Jamaica, Jamaica's first university is not University of the West Indies, but the Queen's University in Spanish Town, it collapsed. So the students from there were merged into what is now the MICO on Mariska Road. And in addition to teaching, I have done banking, and fate guided me to the Institute of Jamaica as a member of the council in 1987. Then I was appointed executive director and realized, echoed what Sir Philip Sherlock said, that the history of our country was under the carpet. And my first endeavor, going to Spanish Town, and saw where the Act for the Abolition of Slavery, the spot where it was read, and there was no evidence of it. In fact, it was a man selling guinea and sugar cane. And so I did a fundraising activity, $40,000. A Chinese gentleman gave me the first donation of $14,000. So when you go there, you'll see this plaque to commemorate that is where the Act for the Abolition of Slavery was read. And they have put up other plaques. Search for the birthplace of Mary Seacole. Took us 6 months to identify it. And the person who was doing the research realized that from the very spot she was doing the research, that's where Mary Seacole grew up on East Street, etc. So I am on this journey to highlight the heritage of our country, Jamaica, land we love. It's a long journey, but we have begun the journey, and we continue to be grateful to you all. And in a very special way, I'm partial to Liz, because Liz, you did not have to do it. Like Sir Thomas Fowell Buxton, you responded to the letter. And here we are this morning. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. That was a lovely response. And Barbara, your story was fantastic as well. So tell us a little bit. You taught in Jamaica informally, you think you said?
No, I've never taught in Jamaica. I left Jamaica when I was 11. So my secondary education was in Britain. So I've never taught in Jamaica. I've always wanted to, but I never managed it. I taught in Africa. I went to Mozambique and I taught there for 4 years. I taught English at an international school. And then 2 years at a Mozambican school, teaching secondary school children English. And then I came back to England, and I went to Jamaica recently to do the talk about our history before colonization and slavery, world history before colonization and slavery. But a lot of my teaching has been in England at various levels, primary, secondary, adult. I did lots of adult work and then became a trainer. So I do quite a lot of work in community groups.
Where in Jamaica you're from, Barbara?
Kingston.
Did you go to a primary school in Kingston?
No, no, I never went to primary school in
But you
Kingston.
left at 11.
Yeah.
So you should have gone when you were about 6, 7.
Oh yes, I went to a basic school. I went to Mrs. Donaldson's basic school.
What if it's Marion Donaldson? No primary?
No, no.
That's
I
not
only remember
bad.
the basic school.
And you remember where in Jamaica it was? Where in Kingston? No?
No, I don't. I don't remember.
Oh, God, okay.
No.
Memory.
Well, we'll
Okay.
get you racking your brain here then. All
Yes,
right.
yeah.
Rose.
Can I before we move on at this moment from Barbara, one of the things that Barbara, you haven't mentioned about yourself is the work you've been doing on Anansi.
Yes, yes, yes.
And you've done quite a lot of very interesting work around that whole area. And
Mm.
of course, Anansi, you know, Jamaicans and Anansi, as you know.
Yeah, and Philip
So,
Sherlock. And Philip Sherlock goes back to Philip Sherlock, doesn't it? As
yeah,
part
Yes,
of our
yes,
history. Yes, yes.
yes.
yeah.
Yes, I do quite a lot of work around Anansi. What I've actually started to do, what we did last year, we set up the first Anansi Festival in London with a youth group. And hopefully we're going to do this year around Windrush. That's going to be our contribution to the Windrush celebrations. And hopefully we're going to continue the festival because the festival is in Jamaica. They do it in Jamaica. They do it in Africa. They do it in America. And we have been a little bit late in London to kind of take it. Although people always do things, you always see things about Anansi, but we've never actually managed to kind of pull it together and kind of centralize it as a time. And I think the Windrush will give us that opportunity.
But wasn't he a Janelle? Why are you promoting him?
No, in my book, he's not a Janelle. He came with us across the Atlantic in
Well,
slavery
we,
when we
we
were
see him as a Janelle.
when our ancestors was in the bottom of the boat of the ships. He was there keeping them going because that's all they thought about. You know, this man who they knew from home, who gave them a lot of encouragement, dance with them, sing with them, did all the little tricks to get them to overcome the enslavers. So for me, he's the greatest hero. And as Rose said, wherever I go in London, people say to me their uncle or their granddad or their aunt taught them the Anansi stories. I meet the Ghanaian people and they say to me, but Anansi's ours, yeah? And so they start telling me their stories. And I say, look, you see, we've come together in England, yeah, through the Anansi stories. When I launched my second book on it, most of the people who came were Jamaicans and people from Nigeria and Ghana. They brought their children because they wanted to hear Anansi stories. Yeah. So I just celebrate the fact that we have managed, we are in England and we can bring us together. We left Africa, but Jamaicans never forgot the stories, and we had here writers, I can't remember his name now, and he wrote a book with the nicest stories. And he starts with, on a moonlight night in Jamaica or in the bush, or they'd all sit around and tell Anansi stories. Yeah. And it was the same during slavery. They sat around after a day in the cane fields. They sat around and they told Anansi story because that's what comforted them. But unfortunately, people have turned it and said he's just a Gino. So, but we have to reclaim that he was the source of our inspiration and our looking to the future. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, I'm just flicking through my photographs here, and I'll try and find for you a little later on. But I've got a good friend in the West Midlands called Joy Roxburgh, and she had an Anansi costume made for her with this Anansi costume. And she decided eventually she wanted to sell it. And I couldn't bear to think that this Anansi costume was going to waste. So the North Wales Jamaica Society now own an Anansi costume. So I'll show you. He's absolutely gorgeous, and He's got all sorts of potential that we
Yeah.
can use. We use him to attract attention in Bangor and the work we do in North Wales.
Yeah,
So I'll
we
pop
have
that for you.
we have some costumes. I've got some Nancy costumes too. So that could be a link where on the Anansi Festival.
Yes,
Mm.
definitely.
Mm.
Didn't think
So,
of that. That's great.
Heather,
Okay, but Rose, back to you then.
I had a great chat earlier to Yvonne, who has a link to Vivian that she hadn't realized either. But Yvonne, you're deep in year 6 teaching at the moment. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to this place, really. Can't hear you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I was born in Jamaica, born and bred in Jamaica, and came to the UK to look for my mom and then look for a job. I've been to many schools, primary schools, but the school that I'm working at and I've been working at since 2016 is such a fabulous school because the head teacher is also Jamaican, and she's here. Actually, I'm at school. I'm addicted to work. I'm at school, and I managed to come on this program because I actually thought it was about teachers emigrating. But talking about the Windrush is also a great thing because the head teacher, who is also herself Jamaican, decided that the kind of history that we look at, because the school is so diverse with pupils from Africa, different regions of Africa, Asia, the Caribbean, and Europe, she decided that our Black History Month would be at the beginning of every school year. So our Black History Month in the UK, which is celebrated in October, at my school, the St. Anthony's, we start our work in Black history from the beginning of September. So everything that we do is on Black history, is about Black history. And it's really a coincidence that we are talking about the Windrush because the head teacher was very big on the Windrush and learning about the Windrush because the passion is about knowing who we are, where we are from, and why we came and the purpose, and seeing the links that that binds us as a culture and as people, and the importance of knowing our background and being proud, generally proud of who we are, where we are from, and not being afraid of expressing it. And the program of work that we design every year involves research. It involves research, it involves poetry, it involves dancing, the performing arts, fashion show. We end with a fashion show where all the children and teachers, staff are dressed in their cultural costumes. And we have a massive celebration. But one year, I think it was the 60th anniversary, don't quote me on that, of the Windrush. We did a massive thing on Windrush, on the Windrush generation, and the entire school had to study the Windrush. And we had the year 6 children, which I teach, whom I teach. We have done a lot of work on the Windrush, and I think I'm going to take the laptop and take it around to show you the display that we have in the school, because they had to write letters to the Prime Minister and express, how they felt about how the Caribbean people were treated. And we have it in the school itself. So I'm going to take the laptop, but not just about the Windrush, about Marcus Garvey. So I'm going to put it so that you can see the background, because we are also connected to Jamaica National, which is the first Caribbean bank in the country. And we are linked to this lovely lady who is in charge. Her name is Paulette Simpson, the CBE. And she had invited us to go on the journey of the Tilbury, the journey of where the boat, the ship, the Windrush
Tilbury Docks, yeah.
went. And we managed to get that opportunity to go and have that, first-hand experience, as well as to interview the 2 last surviving members who came on the Windrush. So the opportunity of interviewing them, I have it on video. I can't find the video now, but we have a lot of picture evidence of that. But we also, as a school, we delve deep into the impact that this had on the people and how it affects people now in present day Britain. And what can we do and how do we go forward with how we interact, how we live with others, how the choices that we make and how we need to make a difference. And even though we are faced with these challenges, it's important that we do not sit on the challenges and constantly complain, but the fact that we can identify ways in which we can make a difference because of the circumstances and not be afraid to speak up. And I wrote a poem, actually, a Windrush poem, and had the children perform at, I don't remember the name of the place, but we had a big performance where they were at the unveiling of the statue at the station to commemorate,
Awesome.
the Windrush generation. And it was just simply awesome because it wasn't just researching about it, was being there live and present and listening to people who were there and knowing that this, even though it's history, it's nothing that we just research. The people were there for us to talk with, and the children were so impressed, including the adults as well, that there were surviving members, and the impact that it has on us, I think it's long lasting because it has changed our life in the sense that it helps us to become more empowered and more knowledgeable as to where we are from and the impact that we can make as Jamaicans in the British society, in the UK, and particularly in London. So I'm going to turn on the background. I'm going to change the background so that you can see the display that is in the school. So this is the display here. Oh, let me turn it. So this is one of the displays. So this is our Black History Month. We do it on a range of things. And this is our children's work. Let me take it closer. This is our children's work and their research, and they have written letters. They have written letters, compensation for abused colonists. They have written poems. They have written all sorts, and they got a chance to go and meet and talk. And I think, and it's children. It's not just children from the Caribbean and Africa. It's children from Europe. We also managed to get the opportunity of meeting, because in my classroom, because I'm in the classroom right now, of meeting Marcus Garvey's son, Julian Garvey. And this is the display in the background. And we are able to meet these people, in live and in living color, because we want to know, to help our children to know that history is, we are living in history, we are living and making history. And it's important that you don't think that history is just in the books. It's a real life thing, and we are making our own history, and we are having our present day history and bringing it alive in the school. So I wish she was able to be here, because I think my head teacher would be a great influence in this program that you are doing. And I'd love to share my poem with you, my Windrush poem that I've written, and a contingent of my pupils were able to perform it.
Are you going to share your poem?
Of course, I'm going to bring it up. If I remember. That's been long.
Just while you're finding that, can I say that there's going to be a replica of the statue at Waterloo Station. It's going to be placed on Kingston Harbour. And next year it's going to be unveiled. So that'll be incredible. And so it'll be really good to make sure there are some children there performing, and who knows, they might perform your poem.
We are willing to come. Just let us know the time and the date. We are
Quite a lot of
always
fundraising for that one.
Our school
Getting to the British
is
Council.
almost a performing arts school, to be honest, because we have a huge choir, and though we are linked to the church, we are linked to bringing the information, educating, the populace of what is happening, and having that wide knowledge as well. So it's not just book work. Let me find it.
I mean,
It's called Passport to Prove.
So we've got with us Rudy Page. He's just joined us a few minutes ago, and Rudy was active with last year's 75th Windrush anniversary in Jamaica. And last week, Rudy joined us to tell us about the work that he's doing now in a community called well, you wouldn't say this in Jamaican, you'd say it as Llandewey. But there's a Welsh place called Llandewey. So we're looking at how with the Jamaica Wales Alliance we can make some links. So that will be good. Tell us when you found this poem then, Yvonne.
Okay.
I'm hoping as well this year, while we're talking about poetry, I'm hoping that this year we'll be able to invite Jamaican poet Yasser Safari back to the UK. He's said that he's willing to come. We just need to work out the financial implications, and he does lovely workshops in schools and talks to people about the children, about, we're all members of one family, the human family, and that's great. Now, shall we save your poem till later then, when you found it?
I have it. I could print it. I have it. If you're ready, I'm ready.
Oh yes, this is wonderful. Thank you. Right, we're all sitting comfortably.
Come to the motherland. It's the place where you should be. Come one, come all to the land of opportunity. Leave behind your coconut trees, warm sunshine and Pekingese, your manga time, your story time, your red label wine and cool, cool breeze. Come and board the vessel that will transport you to the world where streets are paved with gold. Come to London and build the future you want to have and hold. Grip your grip. Grab your things and sail across the ocean. Come rebuild Great Britain after the war and make it the perfect nation. That was the story them tell we. That was the song them sing. But oh, that same story what caused confusion from 1948 till now, they're sweet with their welcome. They're nice and pleasant too. But as soon as we disembark the HMT Empire Windrush, that's when you know who's who. Reality knock, we back. We end up in a shock. The same white British what was smiling for we come, even politeness them did lack. Housing, yes, that was something not to write home about, because they were under the shelters, underground, and everywhere you'd look, rats, roaches, and spiders were scuttling and crawling in and out. Jobs. Should we say, or should we pray, or should we walk away? I was a qualified nurse. I was a mechanic for many years. An expert engineer was IUC. I was a carpenter with the great skills and expertise. They weren't bothered. Clean the floors, clean the bin, push that wheelbarrow. Here is what you have earned and this week, and it's the same 12 hours tomorrow. How could they do this? Let me see where I've lost. I'm going too fast. Sorry. Sorry. Here's what you've earned this week, and it's the same 12 hours tomorrow. How could they do this? Cold-hearted they were and vile. Subhuman treatment were meted out to us. And guess what? They did it with a smile. And you know something that they also did? They tried to wipe the black off our skin. They knew what we looked like before we came, but they had their funny, unforgiving game. I'm scrolling down, sorry. We couldn't stand the game, and deep down, we felt pure shame. So we started to fight back and whack, 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 whack. Bicycle chains, whip pickers, and we were being hit on our backs. Who do you think you are, you nincompoop? It was a sorrowful place. Coming to the motherland was a disgrace. I left my family and my homeland, my culture and my heritage, my song, my identity, my joy, my pride, all were gone. This place is shambles, and they want us to get mad. How many of us had to go to prison for the fight? How many had to be bad? Then it clicked like the whip that ripped our will became the whip that brought us to realize we were living still. The spirit of Nanny arose, the sound of the Abeng toad, the words of Daddy Marcus screamed deep down in our souls. Then we start to gather and throw a weekly partner. We began to save and meet, to talk and pray and plan and rebuild our broken soul, not fighting on the street. We learned the law and turned the other cheek when they tried to poke their dirty fun. We stood up to them and them filthy words, empty words, with their own words that condemned them, that we were citizens. And guess what? We got the other day, thanks to those who heard our cries and began a protest in Parliament to give us our rightful status to stay. The papers that they had given us, the papers to prove we didn't come as a slave. We didn't come as just colonies to rebuild Britain. We did come to this place as a rightful citizen, passport to prove. We will be marching on the streets of London, taking back our legacy that we built with our hands. We have our passport to prove it. That's it.
Wow.
Wow.
Round of applause all around. Absolutely fantastic. Lovely. Really, really lovely.
Sorry,
really,
Yvonne,
I really
where are
like
you
the,
based, Yvonne?
I really
I'm
like the
based in East
progression.
London, Forest Gate.
Oh, Forest Gate, yes,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
I really like
Rudy.
the progression of the poem, which is unusual to hear
It's,
such
yeah.
progression. It's really good.
excellent. Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Really,
Thank you
really.
so much, Yvonne. That's really so great. So I'll not forget that.
I hope you'll share it with Jamaica.
Anytime, just send the invitation. I'm going to Jamaica.
No, it's sent to the Ministry of Education for
Okay,
distribution to the schools.
no problem. I have another
Because
one, but
they
anytime.
need to know too. They on our side, we need to know.
You could arrange it, because myself and the head teacher will be coming to Jamaica in July. So if you would like to.
Schools closed.
School closed, but everybody.
Seriously though, just write to the Honorable Minister, give notice of your
Okay.
intentions, and they will accommodate you.
Okay.
Because we in Jamaica need to know that beautiful story. And since I'm on the floor, dear Liz, you won't tell me to sit down. Since you're doing Black history in England, I don't know if when our children go to the West Indian children go to the National Portrait Gallery, they look and see that there's a Jamaican who did a sculpture there, Ronald Moody. Are they aware of that? Ronald Moody, famous Jamaican sculptor, and his brother is Harold Moody, who went to King's College, London, as a medical doctor and could not
Moody, yes.
and formed the League of the Colored People.
Yeah, Moody.
And his other brother, Ludlow Moody, when you pass through on your Marasca Road, he gave the land for Woolmer's Preparatory School. He was Custos of Kingston. Ludlow Moody. So there's a destiny which makes us one.
I think there's a plaque in Peckham.
Oh, really?
where
Yes, yeah.
Harold
Really?
Mills is the
Yes.
doctor.
Oh,
For his house. Yes,
oh,
for his house.
wow. Thanks for that, Peckham. Okay.
Mm.
That's wonderful. That's absolutely.
Amazing. Can I just say Ivor's joined us? Ivor's a Jamaican teacher, retired now, music teacher, and Ivor's based in Pennants in Clarendon. And he's one of the people who we meet with every week when we're discussing how to prioritise the needs in the community to share the funds out. So welcome, Ivor. I'm glad you're with us. Thank you. Rose, over to you. You're doing the choosing.
Right. Well, Juliet in the Dordogne. I wonder, Juliet, whether you've been able to sort out your technical issues. Juliet, are you there? No, she's had a problem trying to get seen and heard. No, Juliet? Oh, that's a shame. Well, Juliet, maybe we'll come back to you afterwards. But I'd quite like to pick up Juliana, who is not Jamaican heritage, but is her family are from Barbados, and she's currently acting as a supply teacher. Juliana, would you like to share a little bit about your story, please?
Oh, okay. Well, if I don't know how to put this thing on.
Look for the little symbol.
This, does that do it?
Oh, hello.
Yes.
Hi.
Oh, hi, Juliana.
Nice to see you.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Yeah, well, really, I haven't got stories like the others, but I'm a supply teacher. Been teaching.
Important, very important.
Yeah, I was teaching for quite some years, and then I'm actually finishing up very soon. So my last little bit, I'm just doing supply. I've been doing supply for 10 years now. So I managed to get around, lots of different schools throughout the county, which is interesting. It was interesting to hear the story of you, of the Windrush being done at school, also the Anansi stories. What I try and do is, as I move around the schools, obviously you need to follow the plans, which I do, but any little bits of input I like to put in as well. For example, I was in a EYFS class the other day, and they were doing mini bees, so they had a video on mini bees and so on. They had a little more time. I said, "Oh, who knows about Nancy?" So I was able to put on, we talked about Nancy the spider circles. Then I was able to put a little Nancy story video for them. So that's where I put my little bits of input in. And I've just come back from Ghana, actually, so I learned about Nancy as well.
Oh, great! Come to the Nancy Festival. Come to the Nancy Festival.
Oh, I'd love to. Yes, definitely. Yes. When is it?
I think it's the weekend of the Windrush, but on the Friday. So Sunday is the 22nd, I think. So it's
June.
the 21st. Yes, of June. Yes.
Okay. And where is
that's
it?
our contribution. It's in Forest Hill. Near Lewisham. Near Lewisham. It's in Lewisham. London Borough of Lewisham.
Yeah, okay.
And Yvonne as well is invited. Everybody's invited, but yeah.
So, Juliana, do you want to say a little bit about your background?
So my background, my parents are from Barbados, basically. I was born here. So I did banking before I did teaching. I think someone else said they did banking first.
Oh,
I did
good.
banking.
That was Dr. Pickford.
Yeah, and then then after having my 3 kids, I thought, what am I going to do? I've done the officey type work, and I've always enjoyed education. So that's when I did the teaching degree and went into teaching. So I've done that since then, really. Yeah.
And you work particularly with younger children, don't you?
I work in the primary.
In your supply work.
Yeah, I do primary.
Yeah.
So I do, I've done from nursery to year 7, but my favourite year group is year 3, 4.
Oh, it's very nice. That's lovely. I think we've managed to find Juliet and the Dordogne through, I think, my brother Earl. So I'm hoping, Juliet, are you online?
I am. Can you see me or hear me?
We can hear you, but we can't see you currently.
Hang on. I was going to try and do some other work on the phone.
We can hear you, Juliet.
We can hear you though. So whilst you're sorting that out, oh, hello, I can see hands. A hand, briefly.
Oh, Earl is your brother. Wonderful.
Yeah, Elle's my brother and Juliet's my sister-in-law. So
I'm good friends with Earl and Juliet. Juliet's the one who sent me the link.
oh, there you are. I didn't even know that. How wonderful. That's
card.
oh, that's
Right.
wonderful. So, Juliet, do you want to tell us a little bit about your story? And
Yeah.
interestingly, not dissimilar, I think, to Juliana in that
Yeah.
you changed careers and things. But tell us a little bit
Absolutely.
about how the teaching, how you know, your background and how teaching, being a teacher of Jamaican heritage has been for you and the part of the country that you've also worked in. And I think that's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess I started once I left school and started working. I worked in banking for, oh gosh, a lot of years.
Another banker.
Yeah, and until I had the children. After the children were ready for school, because I was a stay-at-home mum. Children were ready for school, and then I was kind of thinking how my life was going to progress, really, what I was going to do. Didn't really fancy going back into banking or doing office work. So I decided I would go back to college. And I did my A-levels and then decided that I wanted to go into teaching. So I then decided I would do the teaching degree at further education college. And I got through that after, I think it was 4-year degree then, can't remember. And then obviously started teaching in school, primary teaching, mainly infants at first, which I really enjoyed. But always, I started, we lived in Bedfordshire initially, and then moved to Northamptonshire. And I also taught in Luton at one time. But basically, yeah, it was primary teaching for many years, which I really enjoyed. Always trying to, particularly with the younger ones and especially in the book corner, always trying to have Black books that portrayed Black people, Black children. So that and also I used to take in videos or tapes, as they were then, with Black stories. And the children were, I think at that age, it didn't make any difference whether, you know, they were reading from a Black published book or a white published book. It was just a story for them. So that basically was my teaching in school. I did try always to bring either books or Black dolls into school as a mix, you know, for the children to see that yes, we you know, their color was being represented as well. I also taught in West Midlands. We moved about quite a bit. But then we came back to Northampton, back to Bedford, and then we did, yeah, Luton we did as well, I think. And we settled there. I kept on teaching after many years in primary teaching. I just got fed up with the working hours, not having time for your own family, and decided that I would come out of being in front of the classroom as a teacher. And I did teaching assistant work in a senior school for many years after that, until I got cheesed off again with with the work that was involved in teaching. I'm sure you're all aware, and decided that it was time to retire. So after about 20 years, I guess, in teaching, I've now been retired for 10 years. I took early retirement from teaching, and we decided at that time that we didn't want to stay in England. So we decided we were going to come over to France, which has always been somewhere that I've always in the back of my mind, I think, from an early age, that I just loved the language. Not that I can speak it that well, but we're getting there. But I just loved France. And when we first came to the village where we live, for the first 3 years, I think it was, I did go into the local, we live in a village, so I used to go into the village school once a week, afternoon, and just teach some English to the French children, which was lovely. And unfortunately, I had to give that up when I got breast cancer. So I was out of the loop for a number of years, but I'm okay. I'm okay now, got over that, and just really enjoying retirement now.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And so far we've had journeys from the Caribbean, Mozambique, parts of Africa, London, the regions. And I am so happy to see, I think it's somebody I've heard about recently, next to her teacher, Yvonne, is the head teacher of Yvonne's school, Angela from Kingston, Jamaica.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Lovely to see you.
I'm very honored to be here among this lovely and esteemed group of people who are of like mind. It's wonderful to be a part of the group. I was just listening very keenly. I was just in an interviewing procedure, to be honest. And I was listening just to the last speaker, and there are so many things that resonated with me. However, my own point of view is this. I do believe that we need to make sure that the next generation understands who they are and our expectation of them. Because what we cannot afford to do is to allow our history, our culture, our practices, all of the things that make us who we are, die with us. So we need to make sure that we are passing it on. One of the things that we do here at St. Anthony's is, for us, there is no such thing as Black History Month. It's Black History Year. It's Black History Year because Black history is history. And that is what our children have come to understand. The only reason that this aspect of the history has been separated has nothing to do with us. And what we are trying to do is to make sure that it goes right back to sit within history, because it does already sit within history. It's just for that to be promulgated and to be celebrated. And we start from in September, and every year we have wonderful themes. For example, this academic year, our theme was Young, Gifted, and Great.
Yes.
And we used Nina Simone's song, Young, Gifted, and Black. And we included all, because there are 57 languages spoken at our school. And what we make our children understand is that we are of ethnic minority, along with many others who are of ethnic minority, and that we celebrate that together. And we chose the theme Young, Gifted, and Great because we wanted the children to know that their icons are not all dead. We wanted them to know that they have living icons who live with them, who are from the same community, who are from the wider community, who are doing really wonderful things that they can learn from and emulate. So we brought in some young people who are doing fabulous things. We brought in Danae, who is a singer-songwriter, a model, and a chef.
And a Jamaican.
And she is Jamaican. She came in with her book to show the children that she came from the same community. She was educated in the same community. She's been listed on the Forbes 500 30 under 30. And if she can do it, so can they. That's what we want them to understand. We had Nadira Amrani, who is from the Middle East, who is currently one of the rising new film directors in England of ethnic minority. Who she was just nominated for 2 BAFTAs the other day, and for her work, her recent work. But for the children to meet her and to know that if you are a great writer, this is one of the directions that you can take with your writing. So we had an author and we had a screenwriter and film director coming in. And we have our children meeting with these people who are in their 20s, who are in their early 30s, who are making waves and blazing a trail to say to them, listen, when you have finished with St. Anthony's and you move on to whether it is St. Bonaventure, St. Angela's, whichever secondary school that you go to, know what you want to do and start to chart your way from now. One of the things that sometimes we're not giving to our children is an opportunity to plan their future. They are just falling into their future, some of them, without a plan and without a thought and without the guidance to have them sit down and consider what it is that they're good at, what it is that they can achieve, and so on. And we take them back to things like the Windrush, which is what your group really and truly celebrates. And we make them know that the Windrush included a lot of people from 1940s right up to the 1970s coming into the country and making fantastic contributions, and naming many of these people and being involved with a lot of the work that has to do with celebrating the Windrush. We took a group of our children to Windsor Castle on the 22nd of June last year to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the Windrush. We took our orchestra, we took our little mini orchestra, and what did they play for that wonderful ceremony? They played One Love, Bob Marley's One Love. They played Lord Kitchener's London is the Place to Be. They played Three Little Birds, and King Charles, whom he is now, at the time he was still Prince, he came over to them afterwards. They had the audience going, they had the audience rocking, okay, and with their vibrancy and their zest. And he came over and he said, you know, children, we've never had reggae in the castle. And he said, this is something I will never forget. And we have that picture captured with him talking to the children. And he said, I'll never forget it because you have left such a wonderful, joyful, indelible mark on me. But you know what was more important for me? That my children would never forget it. That they were able to be present on that day, that they were able to showcase their talents and skills, that they were able to meet the great and the good, and they were able to know that they had something that they can contribute. And again, creating history. because what they are learning is that history is made every day and that they are part of that history making, you know, and nothing does better for a child than to develop that self-esteem, that self-worth, that self-image. And I do believe that putting children on stage to perform for any audience, they were there for the unveiling of the Windrush Monument as well. And they performed so brilliantly. They performed Miss Wade's poem, Passport to Prove, because so many people wrongly believe that a lot of the people who came in Windrush came here illegally. That's the branding, that is the misinformation that became rife. All of these people who are British citizens, they came, my mother had her little black passport, and we still have it today, God rest her soul. And we brought it into school as artifacts to show to the children that here is the truth. My aunt was also a Windrush. Here is the truth. Here is what happened. Here is what the history actually was about. Because sometimes when you read the history, there's a lot of omission and there is a lot of commission, which is what I've said to the children. And we need to make sure that our children understand actually what history is and that they need to know, where is this coming from? Who said it? Why? Can it be validated? They know how to interrogate what they are reading and they know the questions that they need to ask. This is what real education is about. You don't just sit and allow people to dictate to you who you are, where you come from, and your value. You need to know your value for yourself and what you have contributed and your parents and your foreparents have contributed to this nation. You understand? And that you have helped to put the great in Great Britain. Your mother has helped, your grandfather has helped, your granddad has helped. And for our children to walk with their shoulders high and their heads held high, knowing that they made meaningful contribution and they continue to do so. Yes.
So Angela, if you forgive me, just I hope this is okay, just to ask this question.
Yes.
Particularly of what you have said, because in my small way, in my writing, I'm trying to capture the stories of our people.
Yes.
Not because there's nobody else doing it. In fact, there is nobody else doing some of it, to be honest.
That's
and
true.
What I want to ask of you as a head teacher who's currently head, and I've saw your video, by the way, the other day, which was wonderful. Okay. It's lovely to see it. Is to what extent can your influence of those hundreds of young people and staff be spread more widely? Because lots of lovely, amazing work is being done by some of you, but how can we actually normalize, generalize, embed this way, this approach, which is real? This is not about somebody else's history. This is and your point about whose history, who's writing it, who's accepting it,
exactly,
and who's actually narrowing it into a silo of Windrush.
Yes,
because Windrush is more than 500.
It's more than
on the ship. So how do we get others in your authority in East London, right, and I'm looking beyond your school, and how do we with others on this forum and outside this forum, how do we actually do that normalizing, generalizing, embedding? And frankly, Windsor Castle and King Charles should be part of that effort. So how do we move that beyond your bit of it?
Okay, my school is a catalyst in Newham because we have taken the message across many schools within this borough, but also we are a part of a MAT, and all the schools, the 9 schools in the MAT,
Would you like
have
to
been
describe what a MAT is so that people know
a
what?
multi-academy trust, multi-academy trust of 9 schools that work under one umbrella, the Our Lady of Grace Academy Trust. And what happens is during Black History Month, we have the message sent across all the schools. We have where we have collaborative planning, collaborative teaching, the sharing of ideas, other schools coming into our school to see. We've put on an expo where we invited all the schools around, inclusive of the schools in the MAT, to see exactly what it is. And many of the schools have taken on what we are saying. Now, we are not saying that this is easy, because sometimes it depends on who is in charge of the school. It depends on where they sit. It depends on what their thinking is, what their philosophy is, etc. I mean, I was formerly in a school very similar to my current school that was run by someone who said that they did not do Black History Month. And I said, sorry? And I said, have you looked at the demographic that you serve? The parent body and the pupils that you serve. How can you say that you don't do Black History Month? This is Black history right here in front of you. And I was the deputy at the time. And I said, but why? Why don't you do Black? He said it makes him uncomfortable. I said, but I'm sorry, this is not actually about you. This is about the children that you are educating in your school. And this is about them expressing themselves and getting to know themselves and celebrating their culture and what they have brought to your school. And he said, if you wish to take it on, and I'm going to repeat exactly, he said, then egg be on your face. I did take it on. There was no egg. There was a lot of collaboration, participation, and the parents embraced it. It became the biggest thing the school had ever done. And then it became an annual thing that the school does to the current day. And I'm no longer there, and I haven't been there for the last 11 years. So I'm just saying that wherever we are, we need to have the courage to actually stand our ground and be willing to say, nope, this is what needs to be done. And I also said to that head teacher, this is not an Angela initiative. This is a national initiative. This is an international initiative. We did not ascribe Black History Month. It was done nationally. And I said, it is something that we need to make no apologies or excuses for. It is something that is there and it's established. And what we need to do is make sure that it becomes entrenched until there is no need to have a Black History Month.
Absolutely,
You
absolutely.
understand? So we are, and St. Anthony's now works with the boroughs initiative for music, and we take all the original music, all the original works that we have done. We have a brilliant music teacher. We have a brilliant writer in Miss Wade, and they have written so many songs that celebrate Black history and Black History Month. And we do that as a standard now across so many different schools. So yes, and it is growing. And last year, there was the team, Education for Change. I don't know if you've heard of Education for Change, that initiative, but my school was invited. I was invited to speak, and then my school came to deliver a lot of the songs that we've written over the years. And one of the songs that we have, one of the poems that has become now an anthem for Black History Month is You Called, We Came, which was penned by Professor Laura Sarant. And she was my guest speaker at my Year 6 leavers 2 years ago. And when we found her poem, my music teacher put it to music. And it was the most delightful thing she had ever heard. And then it was used at the launch for the Windrush Monument, because it captures and encapsulates the journey of the Windrush generation into this nation. So I'm just saying, we are not doing this as something that we are holding close to our chest and hanging on to, but no, it's a message that we are spreading right across the schools that we work with within our MAT and the schools across the borough in the area that we work. So yes, we are spreading the gospel.
You are an inspiration, Angela, and I know your staff, and certainly Yvonne has said that. And I've seen it through, I know, the little video that is circulating amongst my friends and colleagues at the moment about you and your work. And I'm appreciative of that leadership that you're showing and the spread that you are actually allowing to be done about the work, and your principles and your philosophy actually is shining through really very brightly. And one last thing, it's particularly important that the influence of you as a head teacher is actually not reinforced, because often individual teachers, practitioners are trying to do their thing. And it's not unless, and your example of you being a deputy and your head teacher's response is just reinforces that view, that if the head teacher puts a stamp on it, then it's going to happen. And that's why I was asking how you spread, how you actually empower others to be brave, to dare to be. And
Yes.
actually that we don't have this nonsense of a Black History Month.
Exactly.
Because it is a nonsense, but we use it as a vehicle.
But it is a platform.
It is a platform, and use it because it's there.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. And I'm so glad you came out. I hope you managed to get your appointment of your teachers.
I actually did. And that is also what is so important, because last year and the year before, our school won the Equality and the Diversity Award. And when the assessor came in and he sat in my foyer and he looked at the staff, he said, I don't even have to come any further. You already really and truly meet the criteria, because I am seeing, and the thing is, my staff is a United Nations. Every single child, whether they're from Eastern Europe, Western Europe, whether they're from Britain, whether they're from Asia, whether it's North, South, East Asia, whether they're from the Far East, whether they are from the Caribbean, whether they're from South or North America, there is someone in the school that looks like them, that speaks their language, that talks like them, that shares their culture. And for me, we cannot say we're multicultural if it isn't reflected in our staff.
But importantly, if the work you do doesn't actually show respect to that as well.
Definitely.
Thank you so much. Liz, I know, see somebody, Sylvia Erskine, is Sylvia another teacher?
But can I just say, Angela, it's been an absolute delight to meet you. I'm really, truly, I'm Liz Millman, who pushes this Black History Conversations along, because we believe there's so much to learn. And I've got very close links in Jamaica. So we've got a Jamaican colleague here, Dr. Vivian Crawford. So Vivian, would you like to come in? Vivian?
Yes, to thank our guest speaker most sincerely for such an exciting presentation. I just sit before you and I place myself in that age group with the inquiring mind for such a teacher. God bless you. May your endeavors continue to be crowned with success. Clarification with regard to Windrush, the nomenclature. You were saying that it's not only the 1948, but up. I need a period, because I can't answer that question here in Jamaica.
Yes.
Because I'm told it's 1948. Yeah,
no, it's 1948 right up to 1971.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. I've learned something very special today. Is there a Jamaican connection? We're in Jamaica.
I am Jamaican. I am a Myconian as well.
Are you?
I am, yes.
What year did you leave?
I left Myco in 1986.
I wasn't even born.
Stop telling lies.
I left there. I went there as a student, 60, 62, and taught there 69, 70.
Yes, yes.
So
yes.
you had Mr. Shirley?
I had a Rainford Archibald, yes.
Yes, 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 yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes. I'm
Well,
from
the college,
Jamaica.
I don't know if the college is aware of your outstanding success.
I am not certain either.
I
Yes.
will convey it to them.
Okay, thank you
This
so
is
very
the
much.
news. God bless you.
Thank you so
I
much.
think it would be wonderful.
Thank the Liz Millman Institute.
Okay, definitely,
Now,
definitely.
tell me, Angela, just tell me what the award is that your school and yourself has won recently, so that Vivian's aware of this. And we've got Ivor as well from Jamaica.
Yes. Yvonne says she'll put it in the chat. I received an award in Birmingham. It was called the Black Talent Award. It's a national award for Blacks who have achieved very highly in their field, and it was for the field of education. And I also received the Diversity Award because of our stance here at St. Anthony's in terms of, because you will go into a school, and I am not ashamed to say, that has a demographic of 98.8% of Blacks, but everyone standing in front of those children in the classroom is not. There is no diversity. And I remembered when I worked as a consultant formerly in Waltham Forest Borough, and part of my remit was going into schools to ensure that there was more diversity. I used to be given all sorts of really silly excuses like, we don't get people with ethnic minority coming in for the roles. And I will say, for the 20 years that you have been head, you've never had anyone but people of one hue and coming in for the role. And I say, I find that really hard to believe, because we cannot break that kind of chain if we don't stop a certain type of thinking. And when I would challenge about diversity in some schools, they would say, oh, but we have quite a diverse support staff.
Yeah.
Staff. So if the only diversity is amongst the support and site staff, and there is nothing here, undermining support and site staff, but if that's the only place that our children can look to see anyone that they can recognize or look up to or emulate, what is the message that we're sending? What is the message? Because you have official curriculum and you have subliminal curriculum, and our children learn really well from the subliminal.
Yes, they do.
We have to be really careful of the messages that we are sending, and we need to make sure that our children are able to see themselves in the leadership. Well, I became the head of this particular school. St. Anthony's Catholic Primary is 162 years old.
Mm.
And I became the first head of any other culture or heritage in the school. That alone has a story. That alone has a story. So I'm just saying, it took a panel of 13 that interviewed me to have that courage to change status quo and to move the school into another direction. And that is so important for people of any color, class, creed, or culture to think about what they're doing. And if you really want to make change, it is something that you have to really have the courage. It takes guts to do it.
Yeah, one of the things I think that's important, what you've said, is that I always look at the history of what's happened to Black teachers and Black people in the system. And
Yes.
what has happened is, as you say, it's not that we've never been there, it's how the system pushes people out from the very beginning, and how you could have a school with 10 Black or whatever, and in a while, fighting from the from 1975, I've been aware of this, how, every regime that comes in, different education regime that comes in, has a different policy. And we make the strides, don't say we don't, we make the strides, but it's how we are pushed back, you know,
I agree.
and how it's difficult to maintain it, to stand still. And as you've said, that's the thing we've got to teach our children, that they can do anything that anybody else can do. And
Anything.
they've got to see it. And we that's got to be our first aim. We
Yeah,
have to put in those structures to make our kids stand up and do what they can do naturally, like anybody else, because that's what's been taken from us historically. And for me, it's the way the system, and I've written about Black teachers because of my own experiences. And that is what we need to look at, because they're always telling us there's not enough Black teachers. But where are they?
What do they do about it?
Buried by the system, you know.
Yeah.
And I've said
What do they do
that
about
if
it?
our children are treated unequal in schools,
Yes.
so are Black teachers.
Yes.
They don't normally just teach our children to be unequal. They also see us as unequal, and we have to fight them in order to stand still and to be what we should be naturally and normally. So, you know, your position that our job is simply to put into our children at every stage the fact that they can do it. They are as good as anybody else and better, because they have to work harder.
Yeah,
and we have to work harder to stand still.
Yeah, we have a mantra.
Thank you. Come to
we have
a
a mantra at St. Anthony's where we tell our children, be proud and limitless. And that comes from the philosophy of Marcus Garvey. It says that God and nature made us who we are. And with the renewing of our own minds, we make ourselves what we want to be. Follow always that great. Let the sky and God be our only measure. That means we're limited.
Only limits.
And if we make, because we teach our children, something that always bothered me is the moment that you said to a child, oh, name me 5 philosophers, none of them would be of our color or our heritage.
Yes.
Because it isn't taught. Okay? If we said, name me 5 inventors, none of them would be of our color, of our heritage, because it wasn't taught. And so what we have to do is make sure that we teach our children that they are people of your heritage and your background who are in every sphere, and bring them so that the children can actually meet them or take them to meet them. We take our children to meet Marcus Garvey's son. Professor Julius Garvey. And it was an inspiration for our children. So what we have to do is, and as you are saying, we need to make sure that we give them the kind of, you know what it is? We need to nurture and develop our children's self-image and their self-esteem to such a level that they will not allow anybody to trample on it.
But it's exactly.
Can I just share very briefly, just share something, because Angela's saying her panel of 13 people who interviewed her in 2013, it sounds like.
2013, yeah.
I want to just share with you that I was probably the youngest and I know only Black teacher in 1984.
Wow.
I became a head teacher.
Yes.
And I was very young, barely 30. And I remember being at a meeting in my local authority with a DFE, a Department for Education person who came to speak. And he actually used this term. He talked about the N in the woodpile. So as the only N in the room, I remember standing up and taking myself out of the woodpile.
Thank you.
At that meeting.
Thank you.
And, you know, when you talk about the only one, and I just pulled off my bookshelf. I got a Windrush High Flyer award in 1999. Didn't know I was getting it. Somebody invited me to an event, and I just thought I couldn't afford £75 for the meal, so I didn't go. And it turns out they were trying to give me this award, and that was in 1999 when I was a chief officer.
Brilliant.
And I then, you know, I'd go to meetings nationally, and who was the only person of color
Mm,
in there?
mm,
And you're talking about 2013,
Yes.
and you're
yes.
talking
We're
about
not
what,
ancient history.
it's not ancient
Mm,
Right.
history.
mm.
So you're absolutely outward facing, you know, for your children to be outward facing, to stand
Mm,
confidently. My
mm,
mother used to say, you stand firm, you put your foot on the ground, and you place yourself, and you hold your head up high. And that is what
mm.
you're trying to do for all
To
children
do, yeah.
that you're
Children,
working
yeah.
with, you're
All the
teaching.
children.
Because you're not just
All the
teaching,
children.
you're talking about all children. You're not
All
just
the children.
All
absolutely.
the children, yeah.
And
I have Chinese parents who come in and they say, oh, but Mrs. Moore, we're not Black. I said, but you are an ethnic minority.
yes,
Mm,
absolutely.
yes,
I
yes,
said,
yes,
but you are
yes.
an ethnic minority, and therefore the message is
Mm,
the same for you as it is for us.
And the
So
white
yes.
working class
yeah,
kids, you
yeah,
know,
exactly.
all
They
those,
are a minority. Yes.
absolutely. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's
All
absolutely
minorities,
brilliant.
yes.
Yeah. Sorry, Liz,
Okay,
I
we've
just
got
had
June
to.
Elizabeth White-Smith Gully, who I know she knows what somebody here from Northampton. Who's this, June Elizabeth?
Oh, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for your stories. Yes, I know Juliana, Rose. We've done a
Oh,
lot of projects together with Northamptonshire Black History Association before she moved to France.
wonderful, Julie. Yeah.
Just like how you were connected
Juliet.
to me through my sister-in-law, you know, you've connected me to Juliana as your
Juliet.
sister-in-law.
Yeah, Juliet is, yeah, Juliet.
Juliet.
Yeah, that's a small world.
It's a
And
very
I just
small one.
wanted to say that I went to school in the 60s. I was born in the 50s, first black girl in Northampton of the Windrush. I went to an all-white school, and I was the head girl of an all-white school in the 60s. And that's only because I went to Jamaica for 18 months. And that 18 months in Jamaica, when I came back, propelled me in my education. I'll just stop there. I have been doing Black history in the schools, universities, anywhere that's needed for over 40 years. And I am an international Windrush advocate and advisor trainer. I work with the young people, and at the moment I'm just setting up I'm just setting up something for the young people, because my husband, we're retired now, he's 86, from Jamaica, and we had a music school. So we've always tried to hand the baton down to our young people. And I'll just close because I just love listening to especially Jamaican teachers. Yeah, even though we might have English be in England, it doesn't matter where you are, or Barbadian as Juliana is, you know. And I've got one son, and 2 weeks ago I was in London to witness him getting a long service award for being in the Met. He commutes every day from Northampton. But my stepsons, 2 of them are teachers in London. So, you know, it's just wonderful to see black teachers. And the first time my son saw a black teacher, he never had one at school in Northampton. In London, I had to bring him back to Northampton when I had a divorce. But when I took him to Jamaica, he met black teachers and black doctors, and he was overwhelmed. So there you go. You know, I'll just leave it like that. And I thank you all for coming on the platform. I big you up. And I hope some of you can come next week when we've got the Jamaican nurses, because I'm part of the Jamaican Nurses Association of Jamaica. Okay, take care.
Thank you. Bye.
That's the week after. Well, thank you very much indeed, June Elizabeth. June Elizabeth's been one of the stalwarts of Black History Conversations, and we've got to know one another very well. When I came back to the UK last year, I'm in Australia at the moment, I was able to meet up with June Elizabeth, and it was just such fun. It was really lovely. Now, very kindly, we've got Angela's contact details. It's really good of you in the chat. Would you mind, all of you, putting your email addresses in the chat, and then we will link you up, and I'll make a special group mailing that I'll send out to people who are interested in education particularly. And Angela, I've got a question to ask you.
Sure.
Is there any longer a Black teacher, a Jamaican Teachers Association in the UK?
I am not certain if there is any longer. I do know that there are a great number of Jamaican teachers in the UK, and that Jamaican teachers are being really rigorously and routinely recruited to work in the UK. Still today, it doesn't make the news anymore about the level of recruitment that is happening. But I was at a function just on the 16th of May, where it became very evident in that forum of how many teachers have been recruited from Jamaica and other Caribbean islands as well, to come to work into Britain.
It is called
I don't think there's an association anymore.
Yeah, there is distress in Jamaica about the number of teachers.
Yes.
There is, yes.
And my
Yes, should be.
Jamaican teachers started when Sandwell in the West Midlands recruited a whole group of, I think, about 20 Jamaican teachers, and treated them absolutely abysmally. And I'm just going to mention her name, Mary Nelson. She was a white woman, but she taught in Jamaica and married a Jamaican. And Mary told me about the distress that these students were in, and that teachers were in. And we kind of befriended. We made it possible so for them to get together, and gave some support. And I'm still very best of friends with some of those teachers that I met in about 2002, I think it was. So it's just been brilliant, Angela, that you were here. Now, Rose, I think that Sylvia's disappeared. Perhaps you'll come again another time when we're here. So thank you for all these emails that are popping in, and information. I've also, just so that you know why I'm particularly interested, I had the honour of working at a college in Bilston called Bilston Community College, and I was head of the nursery nursing department there at one stage, and worked with the Commission for Racial Equality on getting all the childcare books rewritten so that they included caring for all our children. And also looked at this is a long time ago, okay, folks, looking at getting the children's books illustrated with, a range of, the real range of the diversity of children in the UK. Yes, so, and then the other thing that I did was the British Council have withdrawn it now, but the British Council had exchange visits for teachers to go to Jamaica. And I thought that was the most wonderful idea, because I, as a child, had the opportunity to live in Nigeria. And so I have no problem recognising that bank managers and, my dad's boss and everybody was doing all the important jobs, and everybody else there was black except the expats, or whatever we were called. So it's that thing about the diversity and the experience. So those visits that we arranged for Jamaican to Jamaica was so important. Now, at the moment, the Welsh government has stepped up. And I showed you earlier on perhaps you didn't see it there. Where are we? I've been trying to take photos of you on here. Okay. So I was talking about Betty Campbell, the head teacher in Wales. Now, she was fantastic. Now, Betty's influence in Wales really carries on, because she's inspired the Welsh government to create a whole new curriculum. And Professor Charlotte Williams, who comes from North Wales, and she's, I think, Nigerian Welsh background or Guyanese Welsh background, I can't remember. And she's done a lot of work on really putting Black history into the curriculum, but we still have a long way to go in Wales, I have to say, because Wales doesn't have the diverse mix that some other parts of the UK have. So all right, so that's so that you recognise her as well. We've got Rudy Page with us. I'm just very quickly going to show you this. In Jamaica, last year, Rudy worked with a team of people to recognise the 75th anniversary. You can tell us a bit more if you want, Rudy. But Rudy spoke with us on the platform last week. But next year, for the 77th, it'll be anniversary, then it's going to be there's going to be a replica of that statue that's in Waterloo Station. So it would be really interesting if we could make a link, and the brilliant poems and the brilliant music that you shared, that's something that perhaps we can talk to our colleagues in Jamaica, and that would be really great. So I've just written the application to the Welsh Government. I've only just put out the funding for Windrush this year. No, better late than never. And we're going to be working on various projects here, but we have a very strong link between North Wales and Clarendon because of the Pennant family. So that's kind of where I come from and where my link is. So it's just been brilliant that you've all been here to share your stories. Dr. Vivian Crawford, thank you so much as ever for your support. Absolutely fantastic and brilliant. Rose, thank you very much for taking the lead. It's just been magnificent. I'm just going to now say, we'll go around the screen and you can just, my screen, and you can just have a last word if you like. So we're going to start with you, Angela, just to wrap up what you were talking about.
If we are going to change our children's lives and by extension change their future, we need to ensure that they are secure in who they are.
Thank you very much indeed. And Yvonne, do you want to wrap up? But I have to congratulate you for bringing our brilliant guest speaker in.
I knew it should have been great, and it was important for me to have brought her to the stage because when someone is shining and they need to be shining, we need to bring them forward. We do not keep them back in at all. The opportunities should go to the people who are shining brighter than myself, and I'm there glowing as well. So sure that we have to be honest to ourselves and give what who deserves it, and it is about us as well, making sure that we are taking the baton and we are carrying on the message of being inspirational ourselves. And when we are teaching, it's not about we need to ensure that we are leading as well. So what we say is what we do.
And how wonderful that you were able to find your poem and share that with us. That was really very, very special. Thank you. Juliana, are you able to talk?
Yeah, just a quick, thanks very much. It was a really interesting meeting. Great hearing everybody's stories. And I've posted my email, so I'll be looking forward to hear from you.
Oh, good, that's lovely. I've got lots of emails here, so that's great. I can make up a list. That's wonderful.
I can't get mine. Well, I don't know how to get mine on.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Juliana. Right, Barbara.
Yeah, just to say that we need to, in order to do the things that Yvonne says we need to do, we really need to reassess our thoughts about our history and where we started and where we want to come. Because at the moment, we've got a lot of blockage and a lot of misrepresentation of our history. And we need to actually go back and, in a way, rewrite that history and retell that history and re-perform that history. Because as long as, if you think about, I think about myself as growing up in England, it took me a long time to get to the place where I valued myself, and where now I can stand up and I can rewrite what I think history should be and give it back. And that's what we need to do. Yeah, we need to get that clarity about where we came from, where we're going, and what we need to do to change everything.
Thank you very much. Juliet, can you speak to us?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Well, I'd just like to say the talk has been really inspirational. I've learnt a lot from everyone, actually. Yeah, because I've been out of teaching for, well, 10 years or so now. But yeah, very interesting talk, and happy to have been part of it. Thanks, Rose, for inviting me.
Well, thank you. I think we, Rose, maybe I'll give you the last word. We're going around the teachers and then we'll catch up with our other colleagues. So Rose, thank you very much indeed. Without you, I think we'd have had quite a thin session.
You know, I've always believed in my heart and tried to express through my own thoughts the importance, the vitalness, the foundations that teachers bring to the child, and how fundamental that is to supporting them to grow, you know, almost a physical growth in themselves. And you see the shoulders rise, and you see the head poise, and then the heart accepts that they, like Barbara said, and Angela and Yvonne and others, they are worthy, and they can be and can do and can show, and don't have to just sink down there. But actually, it is our job to help them to actually get that surfaced so that they can walk tall, like my dad said, and plant themselves and feel that they belong. Because for too long, we haven't felt that we belong. So it's great to hear everybody. I continue to be inspired and motivated. I thank all of you for helping me with that.
Well, in fact, that's just been so great. Really, really great. Now, I'm just going to go around in this order now. Rudy, will have you just say a few words next, then Vivian, and then June Elizabeth White-Smith Gully, I'm going to give you the last words to say, because you've been very good, and June likes to share a lot, so she's keeping it till the end. Okay, Rudy.
Thank you very much. And I've found the dialogue quite inspiring. I spent a lot of time in the educational world. My background is in policy implementation, so all the way from Imperial College London right down through primary, secondary schools, both here in the UK and in Jamaica. So I'm always interested in the way particularly young people are taught and the inspiration that is behind the teaching. So I've had a lot of experience in that. And I always say that each generation has a mission to perform. We're all on an escalator. So sometimes we can look down and think, well, there's not going to be anybody, but of course there always is. People before us said that we would never have anything to do with the Caribbean or Africa. We wouldn't understand those things. And so we've done a lot of projects in Jamaica relating to Windrush, as well as here in the UK. Just in the last few days, in fact, Labour Day in Jamaica. We've got works going on in St. Thomas as well as August Town, the 5 communities that make up August Town. That was the first Windrush Anchor Festival. Jamaica certainly does need to understand the Windrush generations more. We were the catalyst for the national celebrations in Jamaica last year. And I still think there's a lot more to be done, but on one hand, though, if you think of the generation who dug the Panama Canal, you hardly hear a word about them ever, let
Yes,
alone that
exactly.
generation that came over to the UK for the Second World War. So I think the Windrush generations, we've done well in terms of what we're doing. So it's excellent work. I also work closely with UEL over there in Northeast London. So definitely connect Angela, because again, to look into the future in terms of mental health, public health of our young people, we need to again have some systemic changes around the mental well-being of our young people. And we're pushing at the moment for our universities to have a much closer link with our local communities. So I do run a program with UEL. We're about to do a roadshow for the next year with them, and we'll weave in the Windrush message throughout that work. So yeah, so it's been excellent. Thank you.
Oh, it's amazing. Thank you so much, Rudy. And it's really good. We had such a lively discussion last week. We were going to have a public subscription, weren't we, so that we could get something going in Kingston. And then Vivian Crawford, Dr. Vivian Crawford, has found out for us that there's actually quite a lot of plans in hand already, and the harbour committee, are they, whoever they are?
Yeah.
Vivian, you explain to us what's happening next year, will you?
Yeah. Permission would have to be given by the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation. And I was suggesting that it would be wanted the 22nd, sometime in June. So I was saying that is a good opportunity to announce of your intentions, which would give you the opportunity to get the permission from the municipal corporation. It is said elsewhere Rome wasn't built in a day, it was a government contract. But we are taking on this contract. So the process will be expedited. And since I'm on the floor, were you finished ready?
Yes, that's fine.
Yes, okay. Well, I'm on the floor. I want to express thanks to Liz and to all the members of this team for these presentations. I regard every opportunity here as a eureka. It is for me a eureka. I am learning something new every day, and I am so grateful, especially some time ago when Alex Renton pointed out to us that there were those who said we were people of Africans were half animal and half human and justified enslavement. This presentation here this morning by Yvonne Wade has reversed that, and to point out that in a destiny we are all one. And I want to say we are on the relay team of life, and at some stage we are taking on that baton, regardless of race or creed. God bless. Thank you all.
Well, thank you, Dr. Vivian Crawford. So Yvonne Wade is the lady on the right with the long hair there. And we've been talking with Angela Moore. Okay, Vivian? Write Angela's name down. It's Angela Moore who was speaking to us. It's just that Yvonne's got her name on the Zoom screen.
Angela Moore.
Okay, can't hear you.
Angela Moore.
Angela Moore. Okay then. All right. So okay, just June Elizabeth next, and then I've just got one thing to say about our North Wales Jamaica Society tomorrow. June Elizabeth has been a real stalwart supporting us through, I think, 3 years now of Black History Conversations. And June Elizabeth, we first got to know one another when we did a special series for the Windrush ambassadors. And while we were taking a summer break from our usual Black History Conversations, we engaged Dr. Hilary Hickling to work with the group who were developing, well, there's Windrush International Allies and there's Justice for Windrush Generation. Roland joined us a bit earlier. He's doing all kinds of campaigning work. So we're trying to maintain that support. So June Elizabeth, over to you.
Well, I was thinking of thank you. I was thinking of Hilary, and I thought she would have been wonderful where she can listen to the website, look at the website to listen to what was said today. But I just want to echo to time what Dr. Crawford said. Yeah, everything he said, I echo it. And I just want to end with this, that growing up in Northampton and really only seeing my brother that looked like me in the 50s, I thought something was wrong. But you see, when my mum took me to Jamaica on that ship, 3 weeks, and when the ship pulled into Kingston Harbour and I saw children that looked like me, I knew nothing was wrong. I do belong. So I thank you all for your presentations, and I wish you a lovely weekend. One love.
Thank you very much indeed, June Elizabeth. Now, this is my lucky week when we get 3 sessions in a row, because yesterday we met with the group in Pennant. Ivor joined us yesterday, you said, and usually Vivian's able to join us. So that's a remarkable project, because there is so much history from North Wales with the Pennant family, who Gifford Pennant arrived in 1655, and the family were there until 1940, owning plantations in Jamaica. So the story is well known in North Wales because there's a large castle built with the wealth of the plantations. Anyway, we're doing some lovely work on that. That was yesterday. But tomorrow we're doing the North Wales Jamaica Society open meeting, we call it. So you just look up NWJS online, and it's our open meeting, nwsonline.com. And we are starting a course which we're going to be running over the next year or so. Now, the reason that we're starting an online course, but it's going to be a kind of blended, now I can't remember all the terminologies I use for it, but it's a blended learning opportunity to explore the history of North Wales and Jamaica. And the reason we're doing this is that the Welsh Government have got a funding opportunity called TITHE. TITHE is a Welsh word for journey. And in order to apply under adult education, the organisation that I set up called Learning Links International, in order to apply for the funding, we had to be running a course. So we are now running a course. Now we'll hear next month. Now this is only for people in Wales, so I'm very sorry it doesn't apply to everybody here. But we've applied for, I think it's 20 odd, it's about 26 Welsh people to go to Jamaica over 2 years. The Welsh Government will pay for this. We're just waiting, hoping that we're going to get success. And then we get about 8 or 9 Jamaican people who can come back to North Wales. So it's going to be a really significant project. And they have picked that up because the British Council doesn't cover Wales anymore. And I'm really concerned because the British government stopped enabling exchange visits of teachers between England and Jamaica and couldn't ever give a good reason for it. You can do exchanges to all kinds of other places in the world. And I think that opportunity to exchange could be so valuable. So we'll pilot it here and then we'll see how it goes. But I really think our colleagues in Jamaica, I've said to several directors of education, actually you need to take responsibility yourself and see if we can get funding to get Jamaican teachers to visit the UK or whatever other country they want to go to, as well as getting British teachers going over to visit Jamaica, because that used to happen in the past. We used to have British teachers teaching over there. So
Kidding.
just adding a few bits in there.
From the beginning.
Do you know why, Rose? Do you know why, Liz?
No.
So
Because the standard of education did not allow the Jamaican teachers to have that knowledge, because the masses did not have access to secondary education until 1957. And I'm young enough to tell you that I remember when there were only 2 Jamaicans who were principals of high schools. One, Mr. Powell at Excelsior, and Bishop Gibson at Kingston College. Trelawney, I've said it on this program, as a parish, did not have high school for direct access to boys until in the 1970s. William Mib, the first high school for boys, where Usain Bolt, the athlete, went to. If we had high schools, we'd have perhaps more Usain Bolt, because the education policy was, at age 15, the boys must go and cut cane. And the man in 1900 initiated that policy, Mr. Williams. His daughter, Dr. Cicely, went to Bath in England and later became a very famous doctor. All I am saying, let the play heap be level.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so true. Well, I think I'm going to end on this lovely quote that I've just read on the chat. Grow, glow, and go. Thank you,
What's the time now, Liz? What's the time in Australia?
The time in Australia is nearly 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my God.
Right, go on to your bed. Go, take your Milo.
It's lovely to see you.
Brahms lullaby.
Thank you so much,
Brahms
everybody.
lullaby.
All right then. Let yourselves all out then, and then I can just check anything else in the chat. Okay, bye folks, bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Thank you, Rose.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
And
Yes, bye.
Thank you.
Yes, I do. Yes. I beg your pardon?
What's going on with you on this bag?